Welcome, everybody, to the Masterclass for Master's Level Entry in Music Therapy. Now, the subject can be a little anxiety-inducing for some people, so we're going to start off with just a little breathing exercise. Just breathe in, hold it, and breathe out. All right, let's calm our nerves down, and let's dig into this. Alright, so let's start with a little bit of background about Master's Level Entry, or for short, MLE. So this is really not a new topic in music therapy. There's been documented discussions about it since the mid-1990s, according to Wiley in her 2013 presentation. But it really came into focus, and the whole community started getting into this discussion after the Education and Training Advisory Board, which was established in 2002, created their two papers about it, Master's Level Entry Core Considerations, which was published in 2010, and then Master's Level Entry Moving Forward, which was published in 2011. Both of those are great resources if you want to learn more about this subject. I started with those two papers, and I really suggest downloading them and highlighting them. And the resources for that are just down below. I added some links and some citations, APA citations, for those right below. Both of these papers are very pro Master's Level Entry for music therapy. They lay out a lot of really good points as to why it's the next step for us, and that was their recommendation to the American Music Therapy Association, or AMTA for short. And in reaction to this, AMTA created the Master's Level Entry Subcommittee. This MLE subcommittee is comprised of 13 members currently. We have our president, the 4 members of AMTA Board of Directors, 2 ETAB members, the director of professional programs, 4 regional representatives, and 1 student representative. And since they've been established in 2012, the MLE subcommittee has created presentations for conferences, held town meetings, developed a set of core values, collected information to investigate the impact of MLE, collected and proposed potential education models, and analyzed all the feedback given by the music therapy community. And all of the information from these presentations and everything can be found with their PowerPoint presentations when you look for them online. And the best place to find them and the easiest place to find them is musictherapy.org. But the resources for that are also down below in my citations. The really exciting thing about the MLE subcommittee is that this summer they're going to be submitting their final report to AMTA with all of their collective data and their recommendation as to whether or not we should do Master's Level Entry right now. But with all of this that they've done, I just wanted to, within this video, give a huge thank you to the Master's Level Entry Subcommittee. They have worked so hard, and I know they have gotten a lot of heat during town meetings and presentations they've done at conferences. And I just wanted to thank them for being really considerate and thoughtful towards all of the opinions in this process. So thank you, MLE Subcommittee. Now, all those resources that I gave you before, the ETAB papers and the MLE subcommittee presentations, are typically for or neutral towards Master's Level Entry. But if you want to see the opposite side of those, if you want to see a paper that is definitely against MLE, then the resource of Dr. Silverman's reaction paper in 2012 called Graduate Entry Status for Music Therapists is a great resource to see a lot of reasons why we shouldn't be doing Master's Level Entry right now. And I think it's really great to see both sides of this argument to be able to formulate your own opinion. Now, one thing that really piqued my interest when looking through all these resources for MLE was in the 2015 published presentation notes from the MLE subcommittee. They presented 6 potential education models for Master's Level Entry. Now, one thing to keep in mind to ease your mind is that nothing is set in stone. Nothing has been decided yet. We're not already going for MLE. We're not locked into that path. We're not locked into any one way we're going to do it. So we have time to still give our opinion, to put in our 2 cents, and change the future of music therapy. Going back to these 6 potential education models, I'm going to read them out for you and do a brief summary of their description, but you can find their full descriptions and everything about them in the 2015 presentation citation down below. Model number 1 is called One Institution, Bachelor's Leading to a Required Master's Degree in Music Therapy. Now in this one, the bachelor's degree in music therapy would be phased out slowly, and prerequisite courses would be included in a different bachelorette degree in music. The core music therapy and advanced level courses would be taught in a master's program, and students would need to obtain a master's in order to sit for the board certification exam. Model number 2. This one's called Two Institutions, Bachelor's Program formally affiliated with Master's Program, Master's required. So the current AMTA-approved bachelor's degree programs in music therapy could continue to offer undergraduate courses in basic foundations of music therapy, but this would not be a bachelorette degree nor a concentration titled music therapy. Students would need to obtain a master's degree in music therapy before sitting for the board certification exam. Model number 3. Master's degree in music therapy is entry-level degree for the profession. Now this one, core music therapy and advanced level courses would be taught in the master's program, and students would need to obtain a master's degree in music therapy before being able to sit for the board certification exam, just like the previous 2. But this one has very specific prerequisites in order to enter a master's in music therapy program. 1 is completion of a bachelor's degree in music. 2, development of functional music skills in piano, voice, guitar, and percussion. 3, completion of an introduction to music therapy course with observation of music therapy sessions. 4, completion of psychology courses. Model number 4. This one's called Two-Tiered Process, Bachelor's Earned and Eventual Master's in Music Therapy Required. So for this one, students earning a bachelor's degree would have a provisional entry-level certification and would practice at an entry level. The curriculum of the bachelor's degree would consist of courses currently taught in the undergraduate program. To continue to practice, though, as a music therapist and have advanced certification, a master's degree would be required, and the student would have a number of years, they're suggesting around 10, to earn a master's degree in music therapy. This model is similar to that of a beginning teacher receiving a provisional teaching certificate initially, and then eventually earning a professional certificate. Model number 5. This one's pretty simple. It's bachelor's in music therapy is entry-level degree, which is the current model. We all should probably already know about this if you're in the music therapy community, but basically, we all know that you get a bachelor's in music therapy, and then you do an internship, typically around 6 months, and then you get to sit for the board certification exam. Model number 6. This one's called Pre-Music Therapy Bachelor's Degree Leads to a Required Master's in Music Therapy. So the pre-music therapy bachelor's degree would consist of foundational music courses, such as Intro to Music Therapy, study of piano, guitar, and voice, along with non-music courses such as abnormal psychology. This would not be a minor in music therapy. It would be pre-music therapy. The master's degree would include music therapy courses with different populations, courses in research, assessment, ethics, improv, neuroscience, along with clinical practicum experiences, a specialization, and a final project/thesis. Guitar and piano proficiencies would be completed as part of a graduate requirement, and the clinical experience would remain around 1,200 to 1,300 hours, but would be divided differently. Now that you've listened to all of those proposed models of education, my question to you is, what do you think is the best one for us? Or can you think of a better one for us? If you think there's one that's particularly better than the others, then maybe comment its number down below, or email your regional representative for AMTA, or email me about it. I don't care. My email's right down below in the description. You can email me with any other questions you have, or if you found a different resource, I'd love to see it. But yeah, think about that. What do you think would be the best way we go about this if we had to do it? Now, in this next section, I would like to talk about why we're even doing this, why we're talking about this. And what I found as the overarching theme is that every argument, whether for or against or even neutral towards music therapy master's level entry, all boils down to the AMTA mission statement, which is to advance public awareness of the benefits of music therapy and increase access to quality music therapy services in a rapidly changing world. And that can be found on musictherapy.org. Now, what I have found through all of the reading of these resources, and this is my opinion, so if you have a different one, please comment below or email me, whatever you'd like. What I found is that the arguments for master's level entry tend to focus on the word quality within that AMTA mission statement, to increase access to quality music therapy services, thinking that increasing the amount of education we're getting will also increase the quality of our music therapists. Seems pretty logical. But the arguments against master's level entry tend to focus on the phrase increase access in that mission statement, thinking that increasing the price tag on becoming a music therapist will kind of decrease the amount of people that are even able to enter the profession, which is also logical. So in a way, it's kind of sacrificing the amount for the quality, the quantity for the quality. Now, to go along with the whole why about this, I'm going to lay out 6 big debate points that I found within both the for and the against arguments. And I'll do my very best to show both sides of this argument within each debate point. Now, point number 1 is respect. And before I get into this real quick, when I'm talking about arguments for, I'm typically referring to the ETAB papers, the 2 ETAB papers, core considerations and moving forward, or sometimes it's within the presentations from the Emily subcommittee. But if I'm talking about arguments against, I'm typically referring to the Silverman article. Now, to continue, point number 1 is respect. The arguments for master's level entry talk about how having a master's instead of a bachelor's will give us more respect in general as a profession. But the arguments against talk about how we should just be obtaining licensure instead of gaining a master's. Point number 2. This one's not really a for and against argument. I just have a few questions and a few thinking points to put in your little mind garden about this. But experience versus education. Will the public and employers prefer brand new master's MTs over experienced ones? Ones that have a bachelor's but have 10, 20, 30 years of experience. I feel like things could get really confusing really fast for the public, thinking, oh, but this one has a bachelor's, this one has a master's, which one is better, what's going on? But hopefully we can just get everyone to focus on the MTBC at the end of our name, rather than the MA or the BA or the BS or whatever you have. Point number 3. So this one is about diversity, and pretty much all of it is against MLE, because I couldn't find any points that were for MLE that had to do with increasing the amount of diversity we have in a profession. At least in my perspective, and in a lot of my colleagues' perspectives, this profession is dominantly white and dominantly female. But increasing the costs of becoming a music therapist could decrease the access to lower SES populations. And this could affect our cultural sensitivity. If we can have other cultures and be more diverse within our profession, then we can more easily reach and understand other cultures. Point number 4. This one is advocacy. Now, the arguments against talk about how master's level entry could decrease the amount of people able to enter the profession, lower SES or not. But less people equals less advocating. But the people for MLE, the arguments for, talk about how increasing the respect for music therapy can increase the ease of advocating. That also, professional longevity increases with the level of education. And this one's coming specifically from the Moving Forward paper. That we're retaining our music therapists. Therefore, we may not decrease the amount that we have just because we're keeping the ones that are there already. Point number 5. This one is advanced clientele or populations. So the arguments for MLE talk about how it could prepare music therapists for more advanced populations. More education equals more preparation. But the arguments against point out the fact that don't we already have specialized trainings? If we think there's a problem with the advanced populations, then why don't we just create more specialized trainings for those advanced populations? Point number 6, and this is a big one. It's pay increase? I don't know. Are we gonna get a pay increase? Who knows? But the argument against MLE from Silverman, he says that we won't necessarily get a pay increase. And he has some tables of some research cited in there where it talks about how dance and art therapies are already at the master's level entry, but they aren't necessarily getting paid more than us already. But the arguments for MLE just kind of generally talk about possibility of improved opportunities for salary advancement, greater eligibility for reimbursement, and higher salaries. But nothing's necessarily cited there. Neither claim is really intensely researched, because even though the dance and art therapies aren't necessarily getting paid more than us, even though they have a master's, that, isn't a for sure that we won't get paid a little bit more if we get a master's. So really, this whole issue is up in the air. Nobody has any really, really solid research on this, as far as I found. And if you find anything that's really solid and says, yeah, we will, or we super won't, then let me know. Please put it down below in the comments. Email me. I'd really like to see it. Okay, so up until this point, this video has all been me citing other sources about master's level entry. But for the rest of this video, it's going to be about a survey that I conducted that was just for music therapy students and interns. What I found while doing my research was that a lot of the surveys and questions and opinions that were being put into this argument were from educators and professionals. But I didn't hear a lot of voice from the students and the interns. Right now, we're the ones, our future students, are going to be the ones that are going to have to go through this. They're going to be the ones that have to deal with this issue. So I wanted to see what the current students had, because I can't survey the future students. We don't know who they are yet. But the current students have the most perspective on this. So here is my survey. The method of this survey. It was an online survey, and there were 13 questions relating to issues about MLE or the demographic of the population that was taking this survey or their opinion on MLE. And there were 34 participants, but not all of them answered every question. Some people skipped questions, and after the first question, which asked whether or not they were a student or intern, 29 participants remained after that. So the rest of the questions had either 29 or less participants. Now for the question results. So numbers 1 through 4 talked about the demographic of the population. In number 1, like I said before, 29 of them said they were either a student or an intern in music therapy. Number 2 gave them a text box to enter their gender, and 25 of them said female, and 4 of them said male. Now, number 3 asked if they were an AMTA member, and 21 of them said yes. Number 4 asked what current degree level they had or were pursuing, and 18 of them were bachelors, 3 of them were masters, and 8 of them were interns. Question number 5 asked if they had heard of MLE before, and 79% of them, or 23 out of 29, said yes, which is pretty great, and surprising to me. But number 6 asked if they would still be pursuing music therapy if master's level entry was required of them right now. 8 of them, or 27%, said no. 10 of them, or 34%, said not sure. And 11 of them, or 37%, said yes. I also asked for the reason that they wouldn't be here anymore if they said no. And the no reasons were lack of finances, lack of time, and desire to work between a bachelor's and a master's. Question number 7 asked if they felt we needed a master's level education for specific populations. 13, or 44%, said yes. 13, 44%, said not sure. And 3, 10%, said no. The populations that were identified within this question were mental health, which was the majority of the answers, or 1 for hospital settings, 1 for neurological rehab, and 1 for special education. Now, question number 8 was whether or not they would change anything about the bachelor's degree in music therapy. And 11 of them, or 37%, chose yes. 10, or 34%, chose not sure. And 8, or 27%, chose no. The desired changes that were identified were more clinical experience or exposure, training in therapeutic techniques, increased musical standards, standardization between universities, removing statistic courses, or adding business courses. And within this question, one alternative to MLE was brought up that said, instead of forcing people to get a graduate degree, maybe a longer internship is necessary, or more CMTE credits per year. Question number 9 simply asked, do you think MLE will give us more respect? And 18, or 62%, chose yes. 6, or 20%, chose no. And 5, or 17%, chose not sure. Now, question number 10 asked, will MLE affect the issue of diversity within our profession? And 19, or 65%, chose yes. 7, or 24%, chose not sure. And 3, or 10%, chose no. Now, they were able to enter their reasoning for whatever answer they picked. And the yes reasoning was vastly the majority, decreasing access to lower SES populations. People just can't afford it. And here's one quote from the yes answers. They said, why make more obstacles for people that want to help heal through music? We want to be an open, diverse, welcoming culture, not one that makes it more difficult for most people to participate in. Now, the reasoning for the no's. One stated, I think those who are interested will be the same people. And while another one wrote, what issues of diversity are you referencing? Which I thought was interesting because maybe the issue of diversity within our profession isn't as prominent in other regions. I'm in the Western region, and it seems pretty prominent to me that we're vastly female and white. But it's possible that maybe on the more eastern side of the United States, it's not that way. Question number 11 laid out all of the education models that I laid out for you before with their full titles and descriptions, and asked the participant to select 1 to 2 that they preferred. And Model 4, which is the 2-tiered process, bachelor's earned and eventual master's in music therapy required, was the most preferred, which was very interesting to me. It was even more preferred than the bachelor's level one, which came in second. But there was a master's level entry model that was preferred above the current model, which I found very interesting. I also gave them the option to write in their own model if they thought of one. And there, I got one written in answer, and this was one extended degree, similar to a 5-year architecture program or pharmacy school. 2 years of pre-MT, followed by a 4-year professional sequence, resulting in a master's in music therapy upon completion. Question 12 simply asked, after talking about MLE for these previous 11 questions and reading all of the models that I showed you, what is your opinion on MLE? That was it. Just type in your opinion. And I siphoned these answers into 3 categories, either positive or for MLE, negative against MLE, or neutral/mixed. And the numbers for that, there were 6 for the positive, 9 for the negative, and 10 for the neutral or mixed. One example from the positive category was, it would move the profession forward, help gain respect from other therapies, and weed out students who aren't completely dedicated. An example from the negative category was, seems like a lot of trouble for not enough benefits. If it isn't broken, don't try to fix it. An example from the neutral or mixed section was, I think it has its benefits and detriments as well. I wonder how many less people would actually get to be certified music therapists if this happened, and how that would affect the demand for music therapists. So pretty thoughtful, more questions in that. And number 13, the last question, just for leftovers. Do you have any other comments or concerns about MLE? And in this, there were no positive answers. There were 4 for negative, and there were 3 for neutral/mixed. And 2 of the students, which was quite concerning, expressed regret for pursuing music therapy now that they knew MLE was a possibility. That's my entire survey, and that's all of my answers. If you have any questions or want to read more into it, I briefly summed up all of the questions and all of the answers to them, but you can find every single written in answer in my paper, Master's Level Entry, The Student's Perspective, which should be below in the description of the video, but if it's not there, then please email me and I will happily send it to you, or email me with any questions you have. In summary, I would like to leave with you one question. This question is something that I've been pondering throughout this entire process of me researching this subject, creating this survey, and analyzing all of this data. And this question is, how can we increase the quality of new music therapists without decreasing the amount that are entering the profession? I have a few answers or parts of answers that I found throughout this process, but if you have any other options, comment below, email me, put your opinion out there. But here are my possible options. Model 4, out of the education models, seemed really attractive to the students, even more attractive than the bachelor's degree option. At least that's the way it seemed within my survey. And having that time between the bachelor's and the master's, being able to work up the money and the experience up to that master's, could possibly lessen the negative impacts of MLE on diversity in this profession. Not necessarily make it any better than it is now, but make it so it doesn't get worse, you know? Another option is not necessarily referring to increasing the quality of the music therapists, but increasing the way the world sees us with respect, but focusing more on licensure than on MLE. That's one other way of us getting more respect, which can increase the quality through the way the world treats us. And another option, increasing clinical hours requirement. So maybe lengthening internship or requiring more practicum hours within the bachelor's or what have you, wherever you want to put those hours. There you go. I mean, there's pros and cons to that as well, but there's pros and cons to all of this. And the last one I have is just increasing the amount of specialized trainings we have. If there's a population we find is a problem for fresh music therapists out of a bachelor's degree program, maybe we just create more specialized trainings outside of the degree to prepare them for that. Who knows? Let me know if you have any questions or concerns about this video. If you can't find any of the resources I talked about below, let me know. Or if it's not working, email me. Please, I'm happy to talk about this subject. I love this subject, and I'm excited to see where we can go in the future. So thank you so much for watching this incredibly long video, and I appreciate you all for what you do and who you are. Thank you.